Well, greetings, my friends. I hope you're all doing well. You know, in running this channel, I reach out to authors all the time about their newly released books asking for interviews. I have a pretty high success rate for people responding in the affirmative. However, I never take it personally when an author chooses not to talk to me or just doesn't respond at all. That's their prerogative, that's their life. I get it. I'm not bothered by it. But I have to confess, in the case of today's book, The Occult Sylvia Plath by Julia Gordan-Bramer, have to confess I'm a little disappointed. Because if there is one book, I can think of no other book that better encapsulates the intersection of my particular channel, which is literature and the esoteric. So I'm a little bummed about it, but it's all good. I'm still going to talk about this most excellent book because this is an excellent book. Before getting into the content, let me say one of the things that I really love about this book, and I will always call this out because I am a writer, I'm a lover of words, I'm a lover of literature, lover of books. Bramer is a fantastic writer. I mean, she can write, man. You know, there are some people who the book is just their vehicle to get their information out. They're not really concerned about the words. They're just trying to find the optimal, most economic use of language, and I respect that. That's totally cool. If that's their goal. I get it, man. But as somebody who also loves the written word and just loves language in books, I really admire when I can feel like a true writer, a true wordsmith at work, somebody who's really laboring over every sentence. And that is absolutely Gordan-Bramer. She's a great writer, and I really respect that. Now, as for the content, we're talking about Sylvia Plath, one of the great American poets. Now, most people today, I feel like, I mean, I don't know, I haven't done a poll or anything, but judging by the fact that we live in a time where people aren't reading much, and even those who aren't reading, they're not exactly reading literature or poetry, Sylvia Plath is known more for being Sylvia Plath than for the actual writing. Like, everybody knows she was this tragic character who committed suicide in a very dramatic way. And people kind of know of the legend of Plath more than they know of the work of Plath, as far as I can tell. But Sylvia Plath is a poet that I really admire. I definitely put her high up on my list of favorite poets. She just had a really intriguing and interesting way of turning a phrase and combining words. It's just a very interesting use of language, and her poems were very mysterious and held a very mysterious power. And that's one of the things that fascinates me about this book, because I never really delved all that much into Sylvia Plath's life, really at all. I would just read her poetry, and I admired her poetry. I found it very interesting, and like I said, there's a hidden power in it, and maybe we know why now after this book, or at least maybe we know partially why. But before going on, I want to quickly read one of Plath's poems. It's titled "Mystic." Just give an idea for those of you who are unfamiliar. Give an idea of this. Just the interesting use of language and the themes of her poetry. And so, mystic, it goes: "The air is a mill of hooks, questions without answer, glittering and drunk as flies, whose kiss stings unbearably in the fetid wombs of black air under pines in summer. I remember the dead smell of sun on wood cabins, the stiffness of sails, the long, salt winding sheets. Once one has seen God, what is the remedy? Once one has been seized up, without a part left over, not a toe, not a finger, and used utterly, in the sun's conflagrations, the stains that lengthen from ancient cathedrals, what is the remedy? The pill of the communion tablet, the walking beside still water, memory? Or picking up the bright pieces of Christ in the faces of rodents, the tame flower nibblers, the ones whose hopes are so low they are comfortable, the humpback in his small, washed cottage, under the spokes of the clematis. Is there no great love? Only tenderness? Does the sea remember the walker upon it? Meaning leaks from the molecules the chimneys of the city breathe, the window sweats. The children leap in their cots, the sun blooms. It is a geranium. The heart has not stopped." That's the poem "Mystic" by Sylvia Plath. Very interesting use of language, very thought-provoking stuff. Very evocative imagery that she uses in wording. So I just want to put that out there for people who are not familiar with Plath's writing. She was a fascinating writer. I think one of the most interesting writers ever. And so if you only know her by her story, or if you don't know her at all, I recommend actually checking out her poetry. Now, but what's of interest here to this particular video is this recently released book, The Occult, Sylvia Plath, again by Julia Gordan-Bramer. Now, what is interesting about this book, and Bramer worked on this for years. Bramer had access to aspects of Plath's archives and records that nobody else has access to. So this wasn't just simply somebody going over already published works and kind of compiling them. This is original research on top of that, right? There's a lot of work put in this book. In the end, I'm not going to go into specifics because I'm not trying to hawk the material, and the point is to give you an idea of the gist of the book, to go check it out yourself. I'm not gonna poach the author's material by going too much into specifics, but suffice it to say that the gist of it, the overall view, is that Plath was, like, to me, she was somebody who was kind of just born, initiated into the esoteric. Like, her father was a high-ranking Freemason. Her mother wrote her master's thesis on Paracelsus, who's one of the most important alchemists in history. And so this was a young woman who was born into this world of symbolic, esoteric, archetypal thinking. And then on top of that, her husband, Ted Hughes, kind of took that to an even further level. And some of this, and this is debatable, obviously, but some of this may have led to Plath's mental degradation over time. And who knows? And to all the people out there who are interested in the esoteric, the occult, all of these types of things, I think it's fair to admit that a lot of people who go down this path do wind up kind of losing their marbles. Not kind of, they lose their marbles over it. And if you're somebody who finds value in these things, as I do, I think that's a very worthwhile thing to argue and say, well, I think there's value in this, but in doing that, I don't think it's appropriate to pretend that it's not also a dangerous path that can lead some people towards very bad mental outcomes, right? I think it's the responsible and accurate thing to be forthright about that. But whether or not that's really specifically what led to Plath's mental difficulties, who can know? Maybe the mental difficulties preceded these other esoteric interests. We'll never really know. It's just something I wanted to, a distinction I wanted to throw in there. But my point is, Plath's interest in the occult was not pedestrian, and it was not passing, and it was not like she wasn't, casting a love charm spell to try to get a boyfriend to pay attention, or boy at school to pay attention to her or something. Her interest was very deep and very sincere, and that's what really comes out in this incredibly deep and well researched book, The Occult, Sylvia Plath. I immediately plan on returning and rereading Plath's, all of her poems, all of her stories over again with this lens of seeing this new Plath that has been revealed to me. The book is that significant. Like it will change the way you see Plath and the way you see her work and the way you appreciate her work. And it's just a really fascinating book about a really fascinating woman, Sylvia Plath. You can say what you want about her. She has her detractors. But she was an interesting human being for sure, and she is now 100 times more interesting knowing how deep her philosophical interest went in these topics. And so, yeah, excellent book. I recommend it on all levels. Just beautifully written. The information is fascinating. Just everything about it. Great book. Excellent book. Recommend it to all of you. Go check it out. I will pin the path to go buy the book in the description box below this recording or adjacent to this recording. I don't know which platform you will be listening to this on. So that's about it. Peace out, my friends. I hope you're all doing well.